All right, here we go. So we're going to start transformations. And a transformation is just moving a graph around. So we're going to give you these things called parent functions. Parent functions are going to be the original function. Any other equation in the family is considered a transformation. Of the parent function. So I'm going to give you a couple different parent functions. I'm going to give you one that's linear. So you're going to see it. The parent function for a linear function looks like this, y equals x. And then the graph is just going to be this thing with the slope of 1 going through the origin. Quadratic function is going to look like this. The parent function is y equals x squared. So that's going to be a parabola that goes through the origin. A square root function looks like this, y equals the square root of x. So that's going to look like this. It's going to be kind of half of a sideways parabola. And then the absolute function is going to look like this, y equals absolute value of x. And the absolute value is just how far you are from 0, and that's going to look like this. It's going to be a V, hard parabola. So shifts in the parent function, you can take these parent functions and you can shift them around. You can move them up, you can move them down, you can move them left, and you can move them right. So shifts in the parent function, you can shift it horizontally, vertically, or both. A horizontal translation or horizontal transformation looks like this. Think about it. If you're moving a graph horizontally, that's going to be left and right. So you're going to be messing with the inputs. So if I had something like this, if I had f of x, a horizontal transformation is going to look like this. F of x minus some number, we'll call it k. I don't know. And then a vertical transformation is going to be similar, but instead of messing with the inputs, you're going to mess with the outputs. So, for example, this would be like f of x plus 8. When we do the examples, you'll see what's going on. You're going to, if you haven't done this yet, play with these sliders right here in Desmos to see how, when we change the inputs and outputs, how that moves the graph around. And then finally, if we reflect it over the x-axis, think about what that would do. We're going to reflect it over the x-axis like this. So what are we messing with? We're messing with our outputs. So it's going to look like this. And then if we flip it over the y-axis, that's going to be one of these things. So what are we messing with here? We're going to mess with our inputs. So when I mess with the thing inside of the parentheses, that's going to be messing with the input. That's going to be a reflection over the y. Or it's going to be a horizontal transformation. Same thing, when I flip it over the outputs, that's going to be either this, a vertical transformation, or it's going to be a reflection depending on what we do. So use these sliders. Take a second, pause the video if you haven't done this. Use the sliders to see how that moves things around a little bit. All right, so hopefully you've done the slider thing. Let's just kind of recap a little bit. Translate up k units. So if I had something like this, h of x represents f of x. So here's our parent function. We want to go up 3 units. So basically what I have to do is take the parent function and I'm changing the output up 3. Here we're transferring to the right h units. So that's going to look like this. This is going to be f of x plus k. This is going to be f of x. We're going to the right, so we're going to do the opposite, minus h. Use the sliders, you'll see what I'm talking about. So it represents the function. So here we go, f of x equals x squared. We're going 3 to the right. So h of x is going to be x. We're going 3 to the right, minus 3 quantity squared. Down k units, so that's going to look like this. We're going to take h of x and we're going to go minus k. We're messing with the output. So if I'm going down 3 units, that's going to look like this. X squared minus 3. And then here I'm going left h units, so that's going to look like this. H of x plus h. It's weird there's 2 h's. Sorry about that. H of x represents transformation here. For the translation of x squared, we're going left 3. So again, use the sliders. We're going left 3. We got to change the input, x plus 3 squared. When you mess with the inputs, it's the opposite sign. When you mess with the outputs, it's the same sign. Let's finish this up. This is going to be a reflection over, think about it, we're reflecting it over, we're changing the outputs. So when we change the outputs, we're reflecting it over the x-axis. So my new equation is going to look like this. Negative, we're changing everything, x minus 1. You can just leave it like that. And then here we're changing the inputs. So when I change the inputs, I'm reflecting it over the y-axis. This is kind of a weird one. Normally we reflect it over the x-axis. Very rarely do we flip it over the y-axis. So that's just going to change the input for negative x minus 1. Okay. Let's do a couple examples real quick, and then you guys will be on your way. Get through number 14 by today. Reflection of f of x equals 3x over the y-axis. So we're going over the y-axis. So think about it. We're going over the y-axis. I have to draw it every single time. So we're changing the inputs. So it's going to look like this. F of negative x equals 3 times negative x. So this is interesting because when you reflect it over the y-axis for this one, it's actually going to be the same as reflecting it over the x-axis. We're going to shift this one. We're doing number 2 now. We're going to shift this right 5 units. So right now, if I want to shift it right 5 units, what I need to do to the input is I need to subtract 5 from it. So I got g of x is going to equal x subtracting 5 from 2 minus 3 squared. We're going to shift this thing left 2 units. So we're going left 2. So again, we're messing with the input. We're going left, so we need to add 2. It's the opposite of what you think it would be. So this is going to be g of x equals x plus 10 squared. And then here we're going down 3. So this one's an easy one. We're messing with the output now. So f of x equals 2x. Down 3, so I have to subtract 3 from the output, which is the whole thing, minus 4. There you go. Under 8 minutes. Not too bad. Peace.